Your attention, please. May we turn your attention to the commissioner's box near the Orioles dugout for tonight's ceremonial first pitch. The man is familiar to all baseball fans. He holds nearly every Baltimore lifetime hitting record and won 16 Gold Glove. Number 5, Brooks Robinson.
Brooksy delivering the ceremonial first pitch to Doug DeCinces, who succeeded him at third base. And yes, he does have a coach with him. The field, gratuitously saying, I think, is playable. It's soggy. Here's the starting lineup for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it's interesting to note that the leadoff man, Omar Moreno, has run off 18 consecutive stolen bases. We'll see what happens first time he's on. Now the defense for the Baltimore Orioles taking the field. It is a night where you need a hand warmer. You've got to keep moving. You've got to keep wiggling around as John Lowenstein goes into the left field position, and he's going to be working in one of the soggy areas of the outfield, though the turf actually is quite firm. Al Bumbry in center field. Bumbry, one of the real flyers defensively in the game of baseball. Over in right field, he's a horse for this ball club, Big Ken Singleton. Moving to the inner defense for Baltimore, there's Doug DeCinces, who caught the ceremonial first pitch. Been outstanding in his career here. And of course, this man will go down in Baltimore baseball history as one of the greatest ever. At shortstop, Mark Belanger. At second base, Earl Weaver, going with the percentages, puts in the left-handed hitting, or the right-handed hitting, Billy Smith in place of left-hander Rich Dower. Eddie Murray is over at first base. This is another horse in this ball club. He really is a good one. He plays every day and never is heard from. Behind the plate, Rick Dempsey. You heard in the pregame program, Howard suggests that he may be one of the best catchers in all of baseball. And out on the mound, the young left-hander from New Hampshire, Mike Flanagan, who was 23-9 on the regular season. He won a ball game in the playoff series against the California Angels. He's very steady, and he's become an outstanding pitcher. The umpires for the ball game tonight, Jerry Newdecker out of the American League is back at the plate. Bob Engel of the National League at first. Rutsch Getz of the American League at second. Terry Taylor, National League at third. Down the left field line, Jim McKean, American League, and Paul Runge is down the right field line from the National League. The dimensions for this ballpark, it's relatively short down the lines, as you can see, at 309 feet. There is a lot of room out in center at 405, and those are the distances up the alleys. They do play on natural grass here, and they have played some 5 football games already, and they'll have another one scheduled for this coming Sunday. So we'll see what it's like when we come back here. The prognosis for the weather is more bad weather coming in as of Friday. Omar Moreno, the numbers on the year for him in the championship series for the National League title, he was 3 for 12, and he stole 1 base. Out on the mound, the left-hander Mike Flanagan, because of the bad weather last night, he went out and threw easy for 5 minutes when the game was officially called. Jim Palmer out with him, threw for a while himself. So here's the first pitch of the 1979 World Series. And it's fouled away.
Key, I think one of the big thing right now is that you've got to try and, as I said before, neutralize this left-handed power of the Pirates. And it's going to be up to the left-handers, Flanagan, and of course Scott McGregor, to do just that. You got to keep this guy off the base. He's like Bumbry. He'll make things happen.
The pitch bounces outside, and it'll go back into the bag or be... Nope, they keep it in play. Rick Dempsey, back of the plate, will be tested, I am sure, early by Moreno, because they want to know how they can handle it. Dempsey, on the other hand, says Chuck Tanner's baseball teams in his career have only stolen 1 base off of him. And Flanagan comes high and tight to Moreno, and the count goes now to 2-1.
You can keep the ball in on Moreno. You keep it in with hard stuff, and he likes the ball out over the plate. He likes to spray the ball around if he possibly can. The defense for Baltimore, you see Bumbry a little bit in left center field.
It is now 3-1.
And Flanagan trying to keep that ball in on him. He doesn't like to get that ball out to where he can get the big head of the bat on it. He's got excellent speed, and you go playing too deep. He doesn't have a lot of power. On the year, well, he hit 8 home runs.
DeCinces on the edge of the grass at third, 3-1 pitch. It's beat on the ground to the right side for Billy Smith, the second baseman. There's your first out. But you can see how quick that Moreno gets down that line.
He made it close. Yep. But the key task to keep him off the bases, and Flanagan was equal to it.
Tim Foley, Chuck Tanner says, is the man that brought it all together for his ball club. He was the last piece in the puzzle for them. Four for 12 against Cincinnati in the National League Championship Series, and Flanagan comes inside for ball one.
You see, Frank Robinson may be the most active of all big league coaches, positioning his outfielders. Weaver turned the outfield over to him.
Flanagan hits the corner to make it 1-1.
Last year, and Jim Palmer was very forthright about it, the Baltimore outfielders were a sorry lot defensively.
Pull the string on the change, and he gets him out in front. He fouls it away to make it 1-2. And the change is a pitch that Mike Flanagan picked up from Scott McGregor in the middle of the season, and it's made a tremendous difference in the way he's been working on the mound. That ball is popped up out into left field, drifting toward Lowenstein. John makes the catch for 2 outs.
Fastball's being clocked on the first 2 batters, Don, at 91 and 92 miles per hour.
He's sneaky fast. He's got a good fastball, and he keeps it away from the right-hand hitters and into the left-handers. It will tail and sink for him. He keeps a hard slider curveball in on him to keep him off balance, and then he's come up with that good change, which makes it a little more faster.
That's what made him. Winning 19 a year ago, 23 this year. He studied Scott McGregor, who is known for his pitching guile and who has the great changeup, and very quickly Flanagan duplicated McGregor.
Let's see what he can do with Dave Parker. Parker hits a bullet down the right field side. It's going to the corner for a base hit, and the big guy pumping for second, stumbling as he goes around first base. But he's all right. He reaches back and grabs the back of his right leg.
Right there, the first test, gentlemen, for Mike Flanagan against the Bucks' left-hand power. Much has been made of left-handers stopping as you look at it in replay. The Bucks' left-hand power. Well, on the season, Dave Parker, for instance, who can hit anybody, hit 13 home runs against southpaws and 12 against right-handers. Stargell, when he's hitting, can hit anybody.
Yeah, that's exactly the truth, Howard. And, of course, the big thing right now, Tony Barteron's going to go out. I don't know whether it was Parker might have pulled a hamstring or something as he went around that bag at first. You pointed it out, Keith, that he did stumble going around the bag. He tried to get the fastball in on him, and I believe Parker just looking fastball all the way. If you're a hitter, you'll go up there at times and watch the way that pitcher will try and work right off the bat to your opposing hitters, or actually your own teammates. And, of course, these guys aren't dumb. They know their own strengths, and they own their own weaknesses. And, of course, when you know that you're scouted as much as these two clubs have been scouted, you got to figure that somewhere along the line they are going to try and hit a point of weakness.
Bill Robinson is at the plate, 262 hitter, 0 for 3 in the playoff series. And Flanagan's fastball comes in for strike 1. Flanagan, during the last season and a half, has improved his move on the mound. He has become very proficient at holding base runners. He picked off 8 this past season. That's fouled away. He's in front 2 as he pulled the string. He has developed confidence in that change, and he throws it a lot.
That's really made him a good pitcher. You know, since June 8th of this year, Flanagan finished the season 17 wins and 5 losses. And, well, if you're going to finish strong, that's the way to finish it.
Well, that's the key point. That's when he started using that changeup, developing confidence in it, because he said he had been throwing the fastball and the curve exclusively in the early going, and he hadn't been winning the way his talent would have dictated.
With 2 out, and Parker at second base. Swing, foul tip, he stays alive on a 1-2 count. The coaches, Joe Lunett at third, Al Monchak at first. The outfield is straight away and well back. There is no wind, thank goodness. It would really be rough if the wind was blowing. Struck him out. So the top half of the first inning is over. Pittsburgh leaves Dave Parker standing at second base And Flanagan strikes out Robinson. So after 1/2 inning of play, Pittsburgh nothing, Baltimore coming to bat. Game 1, 1979 World Series. The batting order for the Baltimore Orioles: Bumbry, Belanger, Singleton, Murray, Lowenstein, DeCinces, Smith, Dempsey, Flanagan, Smith, and Lowenstein representing percentage baseball to get the left-handers in the lineup against the right-handed pitcher. The defense for Pittsburgh: Robinson, Moreno, Parker in the outfield, Madlock, Foley, Garner, Stargell on the inside, Nicosia back at the plate, Bruce Kieson is on the mound. And the most impressive thing to me in Bruce Kieson's professional baseball record with the Pittsburgh Pirates, in his career, he's 27-7 in the months of September and October.
It's astonishing, isn't it? You talked to him about it. He said, I don't know why, but somehow my stuff seems to work better in the cold weather. I'm not arguing with it anymore. I'm just accepting it.
He's going to find out tonight because it is chilly here. I think one of the big keys to watch tonight is how many times that a pitcher will be allowed to go up. It's very cold, and a lot of times the umpire will allow them to just go up and blow on their hand a little bit.
They have given him permission to do that tonight.
And I would have to think that it's proper because it is chilly. What'd you say it was? 41 degrees, and it is going down rapidly.
That was an hour ago. I suspect it's cooler than that now. So here's Bumbry. Al at 285, 4 for 16 against the Angels. He strokes at the left field. It's going to drop for a base hit. And it drops and rolls rather well. So the outfield turf is firm.
Well, there's the same kind of guy. They come out of the same chapter, Moreno and Bumbry, and you got to try and keep both of those guys off the bases. Moreno was 77 stolen bases on the year, but Al Bumbry had 37 of his own.
Weaver, as you look at this hit again, Bumbry going right with the pitch, dropping it into short left center field for the single. Weaver likes to run Bumbry immediately when Belanger bats second because Mark is a good hit-and-run man despite the hapless batting average, and he makes decent contact.
He'll get into a point where he'll move him, as you say, hard on the hit and run, or sometimes even in the first inning, or whenever Bumbry's on and Belanger comes up, they go to the sacrifice.
Kieson's first pitch is low for ball 1.
And of course, Weaver is a good manager in this point. You see Belanger checking with Cal Ripken, his third base coach. When Weaver gets ahead on the count, all of a sudden that's when he will start to make things happen. And now, this is what the pitchers are going to have to watch out for tonight. It is still wet over by their dugout. The infield has been covered as you look at Earl Weaver. But they pick up that mud in their spikes walking back and forth to the mound, and they got to make sure that they are clean before every pitch.
Bumbry coming off first. And the pitch is high and tight to Belanger, who has a sore lower left leg. In September, he had a foul ball which broke a blood vessel. Before the championship series, they lanced the leg, drained it. During the playoffs, he wore that shin guard, and he is still wearing it. But what a magician he is out there defensively. My goodness. Kieson misses just inside. And the count now, 3 balls and no strikes. And let's see what Earl Weaver decides to do.
Funny thing about Kieson, he's gone through a spell of first inning troubles as you look at Chuck Tanner. Shortly after the All-Star break, that began. In his last 13 starts, he's allowed 17 runs in the first inning.
He walked in. They play the first 2 games of the series here, then they move to Pittsburgh, and Willie Stargell, who is the unquestioned leader of this ball club, goes to the mound with a comforting word. For the 29-year-old right-hander, born and raised in Pasco, Washington, now living in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania, became quite famous after the 1971 series when he left the ballpark instantly by helicopter to fly to Pittsburgh to get married. He also became a national sports personality by pitching 6 1/3 innings in the 4th game to beat Baltimore. Kenny Singleton is at the plate now. He was 6 for 16 in the championship series. He represents power.
He got to the winning very late, Keith, but his wife waited.
And the pitch is low inside. Now, Kieson, in contrast to Flanagan, who went out and threw yesterday, Harvey Haddocks, the Bucks pitching coach, said Kieson did not throw either last night or earlier today. Question is he loose? He's struggling right now, but he hammers home a fastball strike to Kenny Singleton to make it 1-1.
I would say the big thing that off day might have given Keeson is just taking away some of the sharpness, some of the fineness that he wants to have when you're going into a World Series. You don't want to be wild.
But he throws a lot of double play balls. Don, we worked the Bucks pennant clinching game not so long ago. It was a week ago Sunday, and Keeson threw it, and he was in trouble in the early innings, and every time got out of it with a double play ball.
Singleton fouls it back into the crowd, and there's the first souvenir.
Well, he got out of trouble in 4 of the first 5 innings, that's for sure. And the
4 double plays.
That's right. And the thing that you're trying to do right here to Kenny Singleton, Singleton's got good power, because what he does, he says, I use this whole ballpark. It's 309 feet down both lines, and it drops out pretty well. But you can be late and hit it out of here right down the line, as Johnny Lowenstein did in the first game of the playoffs against the Angels. But you'll see Kenny Singleton, you get that ball up over the plate, and he'll go the other way with you and hit it out.
Bounces, blocked by Nicosia. Base runners hold.
Trying to keep it low, get him to hit it down. Keeson with a good sinker, and yet Singleton a good low ball hitter.
Now there you take another peek at it, and a good stop right here by Nicosia. Here's a super play by the catcher. Got gloves down, keeps that ball in front of him at all times, and the runners can't advance.
The 2-2 pitch to Ken Singleton. Nobody out, 2 runners aboard. It's up the middle, knocked down by Keeson. He lost his double play when he didn't come up cleanly with it, but he got Singleton at first base. The base runners Bumbry at third now, Belanger at second.
It's going to be interesting to see just how big that play right there could be in this entire ball game.
Well, when you got Eddie Murray coming at you, Don, you know the cardinal rules. Stay away from the fastball. The guy will kill you. Hit it out of sight. But you can't always get location on the other stuff.
Well, here's a case here. Depending on how Keeson feels and how Nicosia feels about his control. Now, he hasn't been real sharp yet. You've still got first base open. Willie Stargell looking in the dugout. Would you rather pitch to Murray, or would you rather go to even the left-hand hitter, Johnny Lowenstein?
Figures to pitch to him careful.
Pitch is inside. Ball 1. 1 out. Ball to the outfield. Or a base hit, obviously, to bring home the first run of the game.
That's where you've got to try and keep the ball on Eddie Murray. You move the fastball in, sliders in, and then you can tail the fastball down and away from him. He'll have a chance to pull off of it.
Ball 2. Low.
But you want to throw him the curve and change his speed stuff. Gabe Paul used to go crazy when with the Yankees, when those Yankee pitchers would throw him the fast stuff, and he would promptly hit it out.
He goes to bed thinking fastball.
2-0 pitch. Keeson working carefully. Went outside that time, and they're doing just exactly what you suggested, Don.
I just can't see any reason right here to let Eddie Murray hurt you, even though it's only the first inning. But you've got a man coming up that, although Johnny Lowenstein's had a fine year for Baltimore, I got to go to Lowenstein instead of Murray.
And Weaver, aware of that, had him swinging on the 3-0 pitch.
That's right, he green-lighted him. And I'll tell you, Keeson did not take anything off of it either.
It's 3-1. Walker. The bases are now loaded with 1 out. And the runners are Bumbry at third, Belanger at second, Murray at first. And here's Lowenstein.
I think one of the key tributes that Earl Weaver has made to 3 players on this Baltimore ball club, and here's one of them, Johnny Lowenstein. The other is Terry Crowley. The other is Benny Ayala. He says, you know, everybody wants to play. But he says, I can't play everybody all the time. But he says, I've got 3 veterans on this ball club that don't gripe about anything. I platoon them, I'll put them in here, I'll put them in there. They're all up in age, but they all do the job.
Pitch is low. Ball 1.
Snake and sleeves say, tonight let it be Lowenstein.
He was born in Wolf Point, Montana. Lives now in Las Vegas. Went to school at UC Riverside Anthropology. Ball is hit on the ground to the second baseman, Garner. Throws it away. 2-run score.
They had the table set. They had every card stacked perfectly. And the ball was hit to Garner. He had trouble right off the bat getting the ball out of his glove. As he sees, he turns, and now he can't find the handle. Now when he throws it, it's way away from Foley, who actually committed himself too early. Now the ball is out in left field. 2-run score. Runners at the corners. And Pittsburgh in trouble here in the first.
Colden on the button, Donald, because that ball slipped up his glove, and he had trouble corralling it, and then threw hurriedly and errantly.
Doug DeCinces comes up now with Murray over at third and Lowenstein at first. 2 runs are in, 1 RBI involved. Bunbury coming home is an RBI. The other run scoring on the error. The numbers on DeCinces for the year. He was 4 for 13, however, against the Angels in the championship series.
He is better than a .230 hitter. It was an off year for him, but he still retained that occasional home run power with 16 of them. Notable in the American League for his ability to hit Ron Guidry.
Jim Rooker is now up and throwing in the bullpen for the Pittsburgh Pirates as Keeson almost got out of the jam. Almost. There's Rooker, left-handed. Well, Tanner's going to have to make a move early. He's going to make the move, which could force Weaver to make some changes in his batting order. First pitch, low and away.
That's Eddie Murray at third. At first is Johnny Lowenstein. Well, Earl Weaver will go right around with Chuck Tanner. I mean, you can tell, you can put on one sleeve at a time with both of them because they will match one another.
That's right. That's the key characteristic of both men. Use of the total roster.
The pitch is high.
I think also, in all due fairness, and there is the staff of Pittsburgh, as Willie Stargell will go in with Nicosia and Keeson and try and just settle things down a little bit. And I'll do fairness to Doug DeCinces. He had a bad back at the early part of the year, hurt it in infield practice, and he missed quite a few games. So he's been fighting that problem, but as you said, Howard, he is such a better hitter than .230, and what a play he made in the championship series. He might have just got Baltimore right here.
On Anderson.
On Jimmy Anderson, that's right. I don't know where Baltimore finds it, but they come up with some guys at third base, don't they?
The throw up. 2 balls, no strikes, the count.
Crowd yelling balk, which it was not.
No, it was not. And of course, Baltimore, they have seen that play right there as he faked the third while the runner at first, Lowenstein, was walking back to the bag. He wasn't going to get caught.
Ball bounces away from Nicosia. Murray comes to the plate. It's 3-0 Baltimore. Mistakes by the Pirates, hurting them here in the bottom of the first inning.
The very thing the Pirates have not been doing until this inning.
Well, here's a ball down in the dirt. Nicosia tries to make the play on the ball, and it's just such a bad pitch that he cannot get down there. That ball hitting and then bouncing off his right shin guard and going back over towards the Baltimore dugout. No chance to get Murray coming home, and Lowenstein stands at second. That's a wild pitch.
Early in the year, the Bucks had a facility for beating themselves. They started poorly, as has so often been their wont. But if ever a team put it together, the Bucks did in their sweep of the Reds.
There's a strike to DeCinces. It's 3-1 now. 3-0. A single by Bunbury. A walk. Then you had the ground out. Then you had another walk. You had the error on Garner. Now you've got a wild pitch. You've got 3 runs in. And there's a high drive hit for left field. Going way back.
It's gone. Forget it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Doug DeCinces with that no longer so occasional home run power. And the Birds are off to a big start. As a sign says here in the ballpark, the bird will fly.
That Doug DeCinces, he can hit him as far as anybody, and of course he's ahead on the count. And you talk about these things, he's looking fastball all the way up over the plate, and believe me, I can tell you from past experience, there's nothing that goes further than a high sinker.
It is 5-0 Baltimore in the bottom of the first inning. And the batter is Billy Smith, the second baseman.
Remember, this Baltimore team had more than 180 home runs as a team, more than in the Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, Brooks Robinson era.
2 balls and no strikes, and Doug DeCinces nailing a home run, the 15th player to do it in his first trip to the plate. There's a strike. It's 2-1.
Well, that's a typical Baltimore rally right here. They could have been out of the inning. Pittsburgh could have with no runs scored.
Yep.
They fouled up the double play ball, and Baltimore took advantage.
They always do, or did all year long.
Change up makes it 2-2. Rick Dempsey's on deck. Keeson's thrown 26 pitches up there.
Phil Garner.
That struck down into the right field area. Skids in for a base hit. Parker slips, almost falls down, but gets the throw back in. So Smith is on with a single. And once again, the change in the lineup by Weaver pays off. Tanner goes to the mound. We'll see Rooker, I suspect, rather shortly.
He's already pointed to the bullpen, and Jim Rooker is coming on.
You talked earlier, Keith, about Keeson not throwing either last night or early today.
Yep.
Keeson came to Haddix this morning and said if the Pirates had other plans about another starter, he'd be agreeable. Haddix said, "You're still our pitcher." But makes you wonder about his confidence, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Time is out. We'll be right back. The grounds crew out there replacing turf, putting down some sand, and trying to repair the area that Dave Parker tore up when he came over to field that line single by Billy Smith. You see his feet go out from under him there, and with the feet went the turf, leaving some big holes, so they are fixing it now as Jim Rooker, with a record of 4-7, comes in relief of Bruce Keeson, who is not able to get out of the first inning.
Well, what they're actually doing in the outfield, they're taking towels and going out and they're trying to sop up some of the water. They'll take the towels, they'll stamp on them, and then they'll go squeeze them into the bucket. Boy, it's just amazing that they got this game in tonight. When I woke up this morning and looked out the window, like somebody mentioned, they said they thought they overslept because it was snowing out.
There he is, the starting pitcher for the Birds tomorrow. One of the greatest pitchers of his time, Jim Palmer, with 225 career victories.
On Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time, one of the premier football games of almost any season, third-ranked Oklahoma against fourth-ranked Texas. The Sooners and the Horns having at it in the Cotton Bowl down in Dallas. Should be a good one. Rooker at 37 years of age, Lakeview, Oregon, now living in Library, Pennsylvania. Came over from Kansas City. Gene Garber back in 1972. In 1977, he was 14-9, originally signed as an outfielder. So he gets the call early as Pittsburgh defensive mistakes send Bruce Keeson out of the ball game very early. Keeson going 1/3 of an inning. You still only have one out. Rick Dempsey now comes to the plate with the pitcher Mike Flanagan standing on deck, and 5 big runs across the plate.
Key error by Phil Garner, who has been a truly sensational player down the stretch run and
Don't
in
forget
the
that
clutch.
tap back to the mound, though, that Keeson could have handled and
That's
could have
true.
turned to double too.
Exactly.
Smith at first base now with 1 out, and here's Rick Dempsey, 4 for 10 in the playoff series. Outside, ball 1. Jerry Newdecker back at the plate calling the balls and strikes. He is from the American League. Is the strike zone different? Well, depends on who you ask. There's one. It's 1-1.
We'll find out about that tomorrow when Bob Engel of the National League works behind the plate with Jim Palmer, high fastball pitcher, throwing his stuff in there.
That will be interesting.
Line to the shortstop Foley. Throw to first base. Throws it away. Billy Smith going to go to second. Stargell overruns the ball, and Smith's in there. You've got 2 out.
And that ball was hit like a shot, and the Bucks, as you can see, are very rattled.
Now this ball hit hard. Now Timmy has a chance at Billy Smith at first base. All he's got to do is make a decent throw. But the throw is away from Stargell. He can't make the play. Smith was hesitant about going to second base. If Stargell plays the carom and plays it cleanly, he's got a chance to throw him out at second base. So that is the second Pittsburgh error here in the first inning.
Plus 1 of omission.
That's right.
Well, here's Flanagan's first at bat in a long time.
Once hit 3 home runs when he was playing at the University of Massachusetts against Maine in 1 game. Did. Got his name on his own bat, too, I'll have you know.
That's a lovely lady. That's Mike Flanagan's wife.
One strike to the Baltimore pitcher with 2 out now, and Billy Smith at second base. 5 runs in, it's foul back, and it's 2 strikes. And Mike's going to take his cuts, isn't he?
I'll say one thing: throw a pitcher high fastballs, and you know they're going to take a whack at it.
Once a bird, always a bird. I met Mrs. Flanagan at the Montreal airport. She was up visiting the former Bird southpaw Ross Grimsley. They're very close friends. I told Mike she could have made a better marriage.
2-strike pitch coming now to Mike Flanagan with 2 out. He hit .320 at UMass. Pitch is low. Nicosia comes up with it. It was kind of funny to watch him flipping around the bat in the clubhouse when the supply came in. And they started working a week or so ago and learning to bunt and so forth. He's bouncing the bat around, trying to figure out whether it was 32 or 33 ounces. And if you believe that. Tapper out in front. Nicosia's going to hurry in time. And so the first inning is finally over. What an inning for Baltimore as they take the lead 5-0. Mike Flanagan will pitch to Willie Stargell, Bill Madlock, and Steve Nicosia. Before the ball game, Howard Cosell talked with the Baltimore lefty.
Mike, explain why you became an even better pitcher this year than you were a year ago. How and when it happened?
Well, I think early in the year I was having trouble with my curveball, and that was been my main pitch all of last year. And I kind of decided I better do something quick because I was getting knocked out of some of the games early. So I worked with Scotty McGregor on his changeup and a slider, and I think what put me over the hump was the changeup, and it made me a 4-pitch pitcher instead of a 2-pitch pitcher.
That's hard to say. 2-pitch pitcher, 4-pitch pitcher.
He said it very well.
He's a dandy pitcher, however you want to put it. But you were talking a moment ago and mentioning the fact that he had the Angels down 9-1. And
that's right. Key point. Bucks, like the Angels, can come back.
Willie Stargell represents the lumber portion in the Pirate lineup. They call Parker Lightning and Stargell lumber. It's probably the loosest bunch of guys I've ever seen in the baseball clubhouse. They do enjoy themselves, and they are very dangerous when they take the offense. The wives of the Baltimore Orioles seated there. There's the pretty lady, married to Doug DeCinces.
They were having dinner in Little Italy down here 2 nights ago, and Doogie was mobbed by about 50 kids as he came out of the restaurant. Stood there and signed for every one of them.
But here's Willie. 5 for 11 in the championship series. And the first pitch from Mike Flanagan is high and inside for ball 1.
Can't be overemphasized that this man is one of the most remarkable men in American sport.
Well, Well, I'll tell you something. If the pitch is in for a strike, 1-1, you'd like Willie Stargell no matter what he did.
Exactly. He is a great human being off the field. His work with sickle cell anemia, a lesson.
Change, and Willie's waving, and it's 1-2.
A lesson in humanity and his feeling for his fellow man.
The outfield shifted to the right, way back.
You could just look at the glove of Dempsey right there. That tells you the book on Stargell. A good low ball hitter. Dempsey, he almost had to come out of a crouch and stand up to get that target up high enough on Stargell.
Well, he sewed up the pennant clincher golfing a low one at Three Rivers.
He goes again for the changeup and misses and strikes out. That's the second strikeout by Flanagan.
Good breaking pitch right here. It took just a little bit off. Stargell, you see, way out in front and in an excellent location.
The batter is Bill Madlock, who is also one of the pieces to the puzzle that fit perfectly.
If you look at their record, he may have been the key piece. I'll develop that in a second, Keith. All right, now's the time to do it. Before Matlock joined the Bucks, they had won 37 and lost 34. After Matlock came, the Bucks won 61 and lost 30. What a difference.
Came from the Giants. High foul, back in the crowd. That's souvenir number 3.
By the way, that 5 runs in the World Series record for Game 1.
Oh. One and one. Bill Madlock, of course, as he takes a pitch right on the inside corner at the knees for strike 2. Jumped into the headlines as he won the batting championship over the Chicago Cubs successively. Sharp shot, third base to Sinsel. How cold are the fingers? Not for Doug. 2 down.
Doogie is reminding them of Brooks Robinson. Said it was the proudest moment of his life as you look at him again. Had just a fractional instant of trouble with it, but plenty of time for the throw on the right-handed hitter. Said it gave him his greatest joy after that play against Anderson, Don, in the game you called, when they likened him after the game to Brooksy.
It was one of the finest plays I've ever seen, Howard.
Steve Nicosia, the Pittsburgh catcher, hits it on the ground, backhanded nicely by Billy Smith. And so Mike Flanagan gets the Pirates in order in the top of the second inning. And after 1.5 in Baltimore, the Orioles lead it by a score of 5-0. And this was a good defensive play by Smith as he took his time with it. Threw him out. So after 1.5, with the temperature getting down into the 30s now, Baltimore leads it 5-0. I agree. But it's the World Series, and it's been played in snow and rain for all the years. 26 times there have been games postponed, but once the bell rings, the weather is forgotten. Al Bunby now will lead it off for Baltimore in the bottom of the second inning. Belanger, Singleton will follow. It'll be the top of the order. The Orioles batted around. The umpires are now coming in to have a conversation with Jerry Neudecker.
Well, it's the right field umpire, and that is Paul Runge coming in, and he's telling, I believe, Jerry Neudecker, saying, hey, I believe we need some help out there. They've been working out in left field. We need some help out in right field. I believe that Parker might have complained a little bit. We saw the play before back in the first inning where Parker slipped on that ball, and he might be telling them, say, look, let's get these guys ready to go out here in right field a little bit in between innings. So that's what they're doing. I believe they're going to try and get the ground crew. They're going to try and move them out into right field to try and sop up some of that water out there. And you saw at the top of the program, it just poured here yesterday. Rained all night, snowed this morning, then turned into rain, and now they call the man that you talked to, Howard.
That's right, Pat Santarone, who is a veteran groundskeeper, head groundskeeper here, of course. You heard him say in the pregame telecast that they played in worse conditions back in the '71 series. Bowie Kuhn was criticized by some last night. As Bowie is looking on right now, there he is. He was criticized by some for, they felt, delaying the calling of the game last night. He felt he was in a no-win position to give his side of it. He felt, what if I had called it before scheduled game time and it had stopped raining?
Well, he was exactly right, Howard. He was in a no-win position.
And the next thing I knew, some were blaming television, saying we were holding up the game, which indicates an almost massive absence of knowledge of the position of television in the matter.
I believe now what they have told the grounds crew to do is to go back and get prepared to go out into right field this next inning, and maybe they're not even going to go out there as yet. They will let Rooker keep working because Paul Runge is standing down right by first base talking with his fellow National Leaguer Bob Engel, and now he will move out into position, and we'll see what happens in between innings.
All right, Paul's ready. So is Al Bunbury. Stepping in with Belanger moving to the on-deck circle and Jim Rooker, who relieved Keeson. The book on Keeson, incidentally, 1/3 of an inning, 4 earned runs, 3 hits, struck out nobody and walked 2. And the first pitch to Bunbury is strike 1.
This is the kind of fellow who is not only the catalyst of the club, as Don stated, but he is a good, solid hitter. He'll get you key hits with key ribbies. We had him here in a Monday night game during the year when he got the big hit with an opposite field home run. Remember?
That's right.
Fouls it back.
This will neutralize him just a little bit.
I didn't think you could get up from under the table that fast.
Told you, I'm used to ducking those.
Supposed to be partly cloudy and cool tomorrow. Then the series moves over to Pittsburgh as Bunbury fouls it back into the crowd. John Candelaria is bound to be a key figure in the pitching rotation for Pittsburgh.
Notice those stars on the peak of his cap. Those are stars awarded to every member of the team when deserving of it, in the opinion of Willie Stargell. They are called Stargell stars. And because Stargell has inspirational qualities, getting those stars from Willie is one of the things that has knit the Pirates together to the point where they're called family.
A 1-2 pitch is low. It's 2-2. Willie spent about $1,500 out of his own pocket to buy some 6,000 of them. And he's generous with them. He just passes them around. Anybody that does something noble, Willie plunks a star on him.
You must have expected big things this year.
Must have had a feeling.
You can watch the approach of Bunbury on that breaking pitch. A little different than off a right-hander.
Chops it back to the mound. Pitcher Rooker throws him out. So Jim gets a little easier start than did the starter, Keeson. Belanger up, he walked in the first inning.
And that walk was a Keeson mistake. You mentioned his failure to handle Singleton's ball cleanly to execute or start the double play. But the walk to mark immediately had Bunbury in scoring position.
Rooker quick on the outside corner with a fastball. Strike 1. Belanger in his 4th World Series. Strike 2.
Good breaking pitch that time, right down on the knees of Belanger.
It was a beauty. 1 star.
He's gone. Belanger looks at strike 3.
You know, the thing that have you make you feel awful bad as you look at this next pitch by Rooker, and he came back with another dandy curveball. Belanger started, couldn't pull the trigger, and in a good location. And I was going to say, the thing that have to make you feel awfully bad is if you went through that whole season and never had a star.
Just hold the door for Willie.
That's about it. Hold the door for everybody.
Kenny Singleton, out pitcher to first, his first time up. Switch hitter goes to the right side against the left-hander, and Rooker misses outside for ball 1. 2 out, nobody on.
He's a different player this year from a year ago. So confident because he's got his strength back. After 2 seasons ago, he underwent shoulder surgery, and he felt almost helpless trying to throw from right field last year. That was part of why the Orioles outfield last year was a relatively sorry lot defensively.
It was a big swing. You saw that statistic offered on your screen there, that he's been very productive when Mike Flanagan has been on the mound. And to talk about the arm from right field in 1979, he had 8 assists. He only had 1 in 1978, so that's testimony to the strength of the arm as well. That's rolled, and it's fair. And Madlock makes a fine play, and they don't get him. The throw's in the dirt.
We got to call out a hit, though. We'll be hearing from Kenny Singleton in just a couple of minutes, and you'll hear him explaining how he became a new man.
This is a good play by Madlock to get over to the ball, and then all of a sudden his momentum carries him across. He doesn't get real good footing, and then the throw a little bit shallow. Singleton with a slide. I don't know whether he comes up with that ball. Here we look at it again. Makes a good play, but now going away from the bag. That's a tough play for any third baseman.
Well, he wasn't playing the line. Sometimes a guy plays the line when you don't expect him to be playing the line, and that's what the sensei was doing on the hit by Anderson.
That's exactly
he was
right.
playing the line. There was no reason for Madlock to be playing the line on that occasion.
Not right now.
Protecting against an extra base hit.
Eddie Murray also turns and goes to the other side of the plate against the left-hander, and Rooker is outside for ball 1.
Keith, he's got power both ways, believe me. And he's about the same type hitter both ways. As Howard stated before, just a good, solid fastball hitter.
Change it outside.
Now you see the way Rooker's trying to work him. Don with cute stuff.
Trying not to give him the fastball, if at all possible.
Lowenstein on deck, 2 out. Singleton at first. Hit to center, base hit. Ball gets out to center field in a hurry. Really skips, so the outfield out in that area is in good shape.
Well, that was it. The low fastball, and he hit a rocket.
Look at that record against Baltimore. Not very impressive, is it? He was with the Royals at the time, of course. And Lowenstein, forgive me, Keith, stays in there. With a 5-0 lead, why not?
Well, it's still very early. Of course, if you go to make your defensive changes right now, well, Pittsburgh's got 7 more whacks at you, and you can't count them out. They can play catch-up in a hurry.
2 on, 2 out. Lowenstein stands in, swings and misses on a breaking pitch for strike 1.
If this was, say, maybe the 7th inning, 6th inning, 7th inning right there, why, Earl Weaver, in all probability, would go to Gary Renicky.
Maybe, but with a 5-0 lead.
Not right now, not in the 2nd inning.
Never. This guy's a kind of self-taught psychologist, Johnny Lowenstein. Adjusted beautifully to spot play.
That pitch misses. It's 1-1. I think we touched on it a moment ago, but when you have good, solid professional athletes sitting on that bench available for spot play, who don't run around and do clubhouse lawyering and just go about and do their job, that's a very valuable ingredient in the assemblage of a team. And that's what they've got here.
It certainly is. Both teams are in effect family.
Right. John checks on it, cost him 1 and 2. John will tell you real quick, he's not fooled at all. He's not an everyday player. He's really a fun guy to be around. He's an anthropology graduate of UC Riverside out in California. Rooker comes outside. Now 2 and 2. The base runners are Ken Singleton at second and Eddie Murray at first. Waiting on deck, Doug DeCinces, who homered back in the first inning, good for 2 runs. 37-year-old Jim Rooker blows the fastball in there, and Lowenstein strikes out. So Baltimore doesn't go down easy in the 2nd, but they do hold them, and the Orioles lead it 5-0. There's the effort to repair the holes, and I would imagine with all the water they've had, in fact, I can see another spot out there in short right field where the seepage or the water's sort of maybe coming up out of the ground, but there's definitely a small puddle about 25 or 30 yards from where they're working right now. It's just plain old-fashioned mud.
Well, I think the big thing here, as we mentioned before, that the Baltimore Colts played here, and where it is so obvious with all the mud and the water would be actually on the sidelines of the football field where the players were. And there's some spots where they're moving in out in right field right now. They're in normal positions of where the outfielders will play. The outfielders will play a little bit different here at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. There's tomorrow's game, 8 o'clock Eastern. And on Friday, there'll be no off day, don't forget. Also 8 o'clock Eastern time, game 3. But the outfielders here in Baltimore will bunch.
There's Kenny Singleton. We told you he had become a new man, and he had explained how. Here's my talk with him. You're a new person in the outfield. Explain why.
Well, this year I have more confidence. Last year I didn't really want the ball hit to me because I couldn't really throw it back the way I wanted to. This year I really feel good in the outfield. I've been throwing the ball well all season long, and the runners seem to be stopping this year. They don't try and keep going anymore.
This relates to your off-season surgery.
Yes, 2 years ago. Last year was a different story. Everybody got on first, couldn't wait to go to third base on it. This year they seem to be holding up quite a bit.
Pre-game comments of Kenny Singleton. Phil Garner, the Pirates' second baseman, is the batter. Strike one on him. The pitcher, Rooker, is scheduled to come next, and then the top of the order, Moreno, and that's fouled high up in the air and drifting back into the crowd.
This is a pepper pot ball player, this Phil Garner. And talk about clutch play, hit .377 during the month of September with some key home runs. Saw the graphic on him.
There's a pitch right there that is a bread and butter pitch for Mike Flanagan. That hard slider or breaking pitch right down on the inside corner of those right-hand hitters. They have a tendency to give up on it.
That's 3 strikeouts now for Mike. Here's Jim Rooker coming to the plate. Hits from the right side.
The Angels caught up to Flanagan, as we noted, when he had a 9-1 lead in the game that the Birds hung on to win 9-8. But here in Memorial Stadium, they very rarely, as you looked at a call ball, ever hit Flanagan. We showed you a graphic to that effect early.
Well, he was 14-2 here all year long. That's not bad.
Rooker fouls it off. And the count now, 1-1. Mike pitched last Thursday in that second playoff game. And in that game, Ray Miller, the pitching coach of Baltimore, said he had the best fastball he'd had all month, staying pretty much in the high 80s and low 90s with it. Oh, look at this. Rooker lays it down. Flanagan makes the play. Really trying to get it down toward third base, and I think if he'd been able to roll it more down the line, I don't think the Sensei would have gotten him.
I don't believe so. If he'd have got it down the line, you're exactly right, because he got it actually between the line and the pitcher's mound.
World Series history on the Pittsburgh Pirates. See that they lost 1903. That was really not the Red Sox. It's the franchise that became the Red Sox. They called them Boston Pilgrims back in those days.
It's a new fan.
Yeah, my blanket, huh? Pretty well behaved dog to endure all this noise and be so passive about it. Omar Moreno coming up now, rolled out to the second baseman first time up. Let's see if he gets on. It's going to be interesting to see what he does first time he's on, but they are down 5-0. So he can't be as ambitious perhaps as he might like to be. The Sensei is in on the grass now. He's not going to give Moreno as much room down that line as he did Rooker. And Moreno chucks it. And then the ball sails gently out into center field. And the catch made by Bunbury to end the top of the third inning. So after 2.5 innings of play in Game 1 of the 79 World Series, it's 5-0 Baltimore.
That's Dave Parker, highest paid player in baseball. And that fact militated against him early this season. Our conversation explains why and what happened. You seem much more at peace with yourself than I think I've ever seen you. Because you were troubled even when you got the huge contract. You were shocked by some of the letters you received, some of the public reaction that was so adverse. You've settled down now, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I think I really had to battle with myself to just realize that, hey, you know, with all the things that's taking place with the contract that came along with it, was the people breaking in my house, vandalizing my home. Of course, they vandalized my car a few times, but I just finally put it in a proper perspective. Well, baseball is my life. This is what I got to do for a living, and hey, without baseball, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I just kind of push everything else to the side and say, well, hey, when I'm on the field, I'm in my own world. Can't nobody mess with me here. And I think it took about a half a season for me to get that together, but I did have quite a few things to sidetrack me from my concentration towards the game, and I just fought to get that back and just realize when I'm on the field that I'm in my world and can't nobody bother me out here.
It's a terrible thing when you are penalized for being successful, but he's got it in perspective, and he's a heck of a player. Doug DeCinces is up there. You know, Brooks Robinson hit a home run in his first at-bat, the 1966 series. The man who has succeeded him now has hit a home run in the first at-bat. Well, we're happy to be here. Just glad the snow didn't stick.
Oh, I'll tell you. That was the series when they belted the Dodgers.
Yes.
4 games in a row, and Kurt Blefary made a catch here the Dodgers still don't believe. Right, Donald?
That's right, and I know who he hit the first home run off of.
DeCinces at the plate. The pitch is low. It's ball one. Billy Smith's on deck, and Rick Dempsey will follow.
You were talking about Baltimore setting a first inning record in a first game. I thought they broke that off. I thought they scored more than that off me.
5-0 Baltimore leading with 5 big ones in the first. The crowd out there in the bleachers in left field yelling, hit another one, Dougie. And the pitch is in there for a strike. It's 1-1. Strike 2 on the outside corner. Suffered a slight fall Saturday in Anaheim Stadium playing against the Angels when he went around first. Whirlpool treatment yesterday and his left leg back at the knee. He's all right. Jim Rooker relieved Bruce Keeson in the first inning. Count is now 2-2. 4 of the 5 runs on the board earned. And Pittsburgh had actually 3 opportunities to get off the hook and didn't do it. Shot foul.
You know, just watching Jim Rooker throw tonight, he started the year on the disabled list, but he's throwing well tonight.
Cal Ripken is the third base coach for Baltimore. Jim Fry at first base.
Now that could be dangerous, playing that far off the line against Doogie, couldn't it, Don?
Well, he's not too bad. He really isn't. DeCinces is not really what you'd call necessarily a dead pull hitter. Trying to protect a little bit to the hole.
Pretty good pitch.
Yes, it was. He has Doogie leaning.
And he tried to bring it from the outside in. Tried to bring a breaking pitch out there, and he just did miss.
Count is full at 3-2 on DeCinces. He's another Californian. A lot of those fellas in baseball, good reason for it. The weather out there enabling the youngsters to play year-round. And they develop it. So DeCinces gets a free pass to first base from Rooker.
Second baseman,
Billy Smith comes up now, and Smith had a single in his first trip tonight.
You know, Keith, one of the things I'm sure that had to enter Earl Weaver's mind in changing his lineup just a little bit and putting Billy Smith in at second base instead of Rich Dower. With the starter Keeson, what Weaver has going for him is an added plus. He has got, as you look at Weaver down in the dugout, he's got an added plus because he's got Singleton, Murray, and Smith that are all switch hitters. So all they have to do is turn around.
Not only that, as our graphic showed, Don, Smith has been a hot hitter.
He has.
In the recent days.
Matlock jumps and gets it. Second one, back to first, 2. Just a little more bounce. It's in left field.
That ball was hit hard, and Matlock did make a good play. He had it right up. You can see a lot of white showing. Now he has to reach in, make sure he gets in. And the Sensei, he comes in hard, but Garner has just enough time to get the ball out of the way.
Rick Dempsey.
Catcher.
Had a pretty fair series in the American League playoffs, didn't he? Rick is just low.
Well, I agree with Howard when he was talking about the comparisons between the two starting lineups, that this guy right here has got to be one of the most underrated catchers in the American League, and maybe all of baseball. He does an excellent job. He's a great handler of pitchers. He calls a good game, and he's got an excellent arm.
Really gotten two vital commodities from the Yankees, haven't they? Rick Dempsey and Scott McGregor.
Yes, sir.
And the youngster named Martinez hasn't done badly for them either. Tippy.
Been great out on the bullpen.
3 balls and no strikes now to Rick Dempsey with 2 out. Mike Flanagan, the pitcher, waiting on deck. 5-0 Baltimore. 3-1. I would suggest, I think, too, 3-1 pitch. Bat comes apart, bounced out to the second baseman Garner, throws over to first and gets him. And so Dempsey bounces out to end the 3rd inning of play at after 3. The Orioles lead the Pirates 5-0. Want to see a bat explode? Watch this. Dempsey's bat just literally comes apart. And he's thrown out at first base. When that lumber, most splinters start flying around, 'tis a time to be nimble.
And when you get the ball out on the end of the bat like that in this kind of weather where it's down in the 30s, you just go back to the dugout and count your fingernails.
NFL football on ABC.
That's a big one Sunday night. The Rams against the Cowboys. The Cowboys now in possession of John Dutton, one of the finest defensive linemen in football, acquired by way of trade with the Colts of Baltimore. Then Monday night, the Vikes against the Jets. In the meantime, Tim Foley, and this, my friend, is a contact hitter, Keith.
And it's also the second time around for the batting order for the Pittsburgh Pirates against Mike Flanagan. Parker will follow, and then comes Bill Robinson. Birds are leading 5-0, and Mike Flanagan's fastball has plenty of pop in it for strike 1.
When I say contact hitter, Keith, he has struck out only once.
That's foul.
In his last 238 at-bats.
Dandy catch by the young lady. The ball curled down the left field line.
And he hasn't struck out at all in his last 138 at-bats. So he meets the ball.
Looped out into short center field, and it drops.
See what I mean?
Yep.
He'll get wood on it one way or another.
Well, he's up on the bat handle about 4 inches, and that'll tell you something right there.
Listen, you remember a guy, the late Mr. Branch Rickey, used to say he can't hit, he can't run, he can't field, he can't throw. What he can do is win. He talked of the brat, Eddie Stanky. Well, Timmy Foley may be an uppercase Eddie Stanky.
Dave Parker normally uses a piece of wood at the plate, 37 ounces and 37 inches, and the average man needs help to tote it.
Well, I know one thing. If that's what he's using, you've got to be strong to swing that. You have got to be strong.
He has gone as high as 39. Pitch is high and tight.
Interesting thing about the Bucks with their left-hand power, primarily in the form of this man in Stargell. They've been shut out by a southpaw only once this year, Don, and that was Pete Falcone of the Mets in one of his rare effective performances.
Parker up there, swings and misses, and it's 1-1. Dave doubled his first time up, has one of the 2 hits, and that pitch came into the plate at 90 miles an hour. This misses Jim Rooker right there.
Go, Dave! Orioles!
Oh, Dave.
As you watch the Flanagan And the way he comes set and then kicks and comes to the plate, he's got a good move because he really does not commit himself. He gets up there and he balances, and that's a good move. A left-hander that can do that, it's got to be an added plus. They cannot take the liberty to run on you.
2-1 pitch. He goes to first.
And Foley wasn't that far off, and he almost picked him off. He's had a poor move in the past.
He got 8 this year, Don. That's quite a few. Into right field, base hit. Parker 2 for 2. Foley turns at second. He's going to third, and he's in there.
So you see the southpaw isn't stopping. Those are the Pittsburgh wives. And they've seen their team come from way behind so many times this past season. But Parker 2 for 2 against the southpaw.
Bill Robinson struck out swinging first time up as Flanagan threw him a diving, spinning curve. That was a beautiful pitch.
Now there is a graphic that shows you a significant difference for this year at least against lefties as against righties.
Nobody out, runners at the corner, Foley at third, Parker at first. Parker has plenty of speed, 20 out of 24 in stolen bases, and Robinson fouls it off for strike one.
Parker's amazing. The endless season, he was going to the opposite field with such great success. He'll go any way on you using that ballpark. He can do so many things.
High chopper at third base. Foley holds. DeCinces makes the play. Parker goes to second, 1 out.
Now there's a smart play by Tim Foley at third base. He had a notion to try and come, but there's no need to even try. You're down 5 all.
Not only that, the ball hit in front of him.
Right in front of him. He started to come, and then he kind of kicked himself a little bit, but he made the right play.
Here is the big man. Look at that hitting in the National League Championship Series. Tremendous competitor for MVP honors in the league.
You can tell how cold it is. The breath pretty steamy. Winds it up, and the pitch is inside.
Interesting now as you look at Chuck Tanner. Of course, he's got the towel wrapped around his neck because it's chilly, as Keith and all of us have noted. Flanagan has not gone to the chain.
That's interesting.
And I'm just watching and wondering how long it's going to be before he goes back to that chain.
Got Willie on it. Let's see. Yeah. Fastball, and it's a shot. Second baseman has it. Throw to first base. Run scores. 2 out. And finally, Pittsburgh gets on the board. Parker going over to third. Foley comes home as Willie Stargell gets an RBI. 2 down. Madlock coming to the plate.
Said before, of the 2 ball clubs on the field, the Pirates have got to be the one that you would say, well, they can play catch up with you. They can catch you if you get a big lead.
Bill takes it low.
But if you go into the 9th inning trailing Baltimore, they have some of the most incredible statistics in the history of the game. It's almost impossible to catch them on the record, or at least this past year, Don.
They can throw some stoppers at you. They've got them sitting out there in that bullpen. I'll guarantee you that. Both clubs have excellent relievers.
They don't beat themselves.
No, they don't.
There's your change.
What a beautiful pitch.
1-1 to count, and here's the pitch.
Well, he's just got Madlock fooled. That's all there is to that. Bill might have thought it might have been a little low.
1-1. Madlock takes it. Makes it 2-1. Nicosier's on deck. Swinging that paddle, warming up. Two and two.
You could see the finger, and then he went inside, and that's exactly where Flanagan threw it. He hit that inside corner beautifully. See where he wants to go this time, and we can pick up the sign from Dempsey.
That's foul. Oops. Souvenir hunter out of the stands. Goes back in a hurry.
A lot of memories for some of these players on each team as they look back to the 1971 series.
Coming back inside.
Foul again. Pretty much the same place. Get down underneath that tarp to dig it out.
Belanger talks about how the Birds won the first two in '71 and thought they had it cinched. The Bucks won the next three, then the Birds won, and then Roberto Clemente finished.
Fouled away. Count holds at 2-2.
That's Timmy Foley's wife, a lovely young blonde lady. She and her husband both thought his career might be finished with the Mets this year, and they sent him away a new life.
Oh, Madlock got all of that one, didn't he? Just foul.
This is a tough hitter. Tough.
Flanagan got a little fortunate right there. He hung that breaking pitch up over the plate, and he hit it on the screws.
It's a man who's found a home here. Every other manager tried to fit me into a mold, Matlock says, but not Chuck Tanner. He lets you be yourself.
Just outside. It's now a full count. 3 balls and 2 strikes. 1 run is in for Pittsburgh. Dave Parker is over at third. You've got 2 out.
Madlock has got just a great swing. Very short and very compact.
Full count coming. Now time.
You can see right there, Madlock was not going to take his eye off of Flanagan. He held his right hand up and said, time. If he doesn't get it, he's got to get it back on the bat.
Ball 4. Runners at the corner now with 2 out. That's a pretty close pitch.
It sure was. Watch it again.
He's trying to get the fastball up a little bit.
Catcher, Steve Nicosia.
Just off the inside corner.
That's the first walk issued in the ball game by Mike Flanagan. Steve Nicosia is at the plate. Nicosia's first time up. He rolled out to the second baseman, and there's Mrs. Nicosia.
Meditate. Let's go, Nick. Let's go, Nick.
Played winter ball 1976. He caught Mike Flanagan during winter ball. We're in the top of the 4th inning, and it's a 5-1 ball game as Flanagan is inside. And the Baltimore bullpen now with Sammy Stewart getting loose just in case.
Neither manager on average will waste time. Tanner stayed with Keeson in the first inning.
That's hit on the ground to Belanger. The shortstop over to second to short way to get Madlock coming down from first base. And the top of the 4th is over. But Pittsburgh punches through to get 1 run. And we are at 5-1 in the middle of the 4th. And Flanagan's on. Well, let us see now. Will the pitcher get a hit? Or will the first baseman for Pittsburgh get an error? It looks to me like an error, but we'll see.
I got to believe Willie Stargell will like to have those hit to him all day long because I think he'll make the play all day long. But he just didn't get him.
Give him an error.
They give him an error, and that's a good call.
3rd error in the ball game for Pittsburgh. 3rd. And the first one was terribly expensive. Now Bunbury with Mark Belanger to the on-deck circle. Bunbury in the ball game, a single, scored a run. The first run of the game, he's 1 for 2. Turns to bunt, takes it, strike. That's Romo continuing to warm up in the bullpen for Pittsburgh.
He may have been waiting on a pinch hitting situation, Don, but he's a guy who'll show you 6 pitches, 7 pitches a game if necessary.
Well, that's exactly true. Rooker gets in trouble right here. He won't hesitate to bring somebody in to get out of the inning, and then he'll pinch hit for them and go to the next
Exactly.
guy.
Bunbury taking a good long hard look at the third base coach, Cal Ripken. He's offered the bunt on 2 occasions. The ball of strike count is 1-1, with the pitcher Flanagan running at first base. Pulls it back and takes it. It's 2-1. There's a left-hander, Dave Roberts, now joining Romo in the bullpen. So Chuck's warming up from both sides. Well, it's 3-1.
Now, here's a case right here. When you know the man's going to bunt, he's told everybody in the ballpark he's going to bunt. You may as well let him bunt.
I would agree with that.
May as well just go ahead and let him bunt. No need being fine with him. And you have the runner at first base for the pitcher. If he gets it down, you might be able to have a play at second base.
He finally puts it down. Rooker comes down to get it. Flanagan goes on to second. Garner covers it first. Bumbra's speed makes it close. Flanagan running on the bases. And remember, we're not using the designated hitter in this alternate year of the World Series, playing it the National League way. It is a cold night. The pitcher's been standing out there for quite a while.
This is where a lot of people have the pros and cons about that designated hitter. Here's what they like to see in the middle of the summer, where you have the pitcher running the bases like that, and just check the stamina of that pitcher and see if he can go 9 innings and run the bases a few times.
Mark Belanger, the batter, with 1 out.
You don't like the DH, do you?
Not especially.
Belanger swings and misses.
You see, Madlock, the third baseman, of course, Belanger can handle that bat so well. And Madlock knows that through their scouting reports. He's even with a bag. And just off the edge of the grass, he is not going to give Belanger the bunt. He will bunt on you.
When you say Mark can handle the bat so well, excuse me, Keith, you mean because of the experience he can manipulate it despite the 167 batting average of the year.
Don't let that fool you. He can beat you.
There's a little looper, a little carry to center field, and Moreno makes the catch. 2 down. Ball had more spin on it as he went underneath it, and it just lifted right on out to center.
Now here's the guy he's got to get by. Singleton. After Singleton, Murray. They're a tremendous 1-2 punch.
Here's a case that really puts a lot of burden on the outfield. Now, we've talked about the bad weather. We've talked about the outfield being in really tough condition. Well, a good outfielder is going to know, I've got a pitcher at second base, 2 outs. I got to know that there's a guy at the plate that can hit the ball to me hard for a base hit. I've got to charge it hard because I know I've got to play at the plate, but now I've also got that bad turf.
High to right center. Moreno and Parker, and it's Parker on the call and the catch. And the inning is over. So Flanagan stops at second base. And after 4, Baltimore 5 and Pittsburgh 1. Game number 2 tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time here on ABC. Game number 3 goes over to Pittsburgh on Friday at 8 Eastern Time. We're concerned right now with the opening game of this 76th World Series. And the Buccaneers, with a big crowd having traveled over to Baltimore, they've gobbled up every ticket available to them. And they're enjoying a 5-1 lead right now as we go to the top of the 5th inning. And we will go with Don Drysdale to call the play for you. And Don, this is the 3rd largest crowd for a World Series game here in the stadium's history, 53,735.
And you've got to give them all credit, Keith, because they are here under adverse conditions, because it is chilly, and they had a big crowd here last night that stayed through the rain until they finally called it. But right now, they've got their Orioles on top 5-1, as it'll be Garner and then a pinch hitter. And we'll go to the top of the order on Omar Moreno.
This is the young man who wants to make up, and you see how well he hit in the championship series, who wants to make up for his critical error in the first inning.
Now, Garner caught looking his first time at bat at .293 on the regular season.
Manny Sanguillen has come out to the on-deck circle as a pinch hitter.
Now Chuck Tanner going to the old pro, Manny Sanguillen.
Manny's another veteran of that 71 series. When the Bucks play the Birds, it's like a city series.
Good change, and Flanagan out in front 0-2.
It's that kind of rivalry. The cities are not that far apart. That's Mrs. Phil Garner. Usually when Don takes over an inning, the runs come in profusion.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Garner. Flanagan out in front. 5-1 Baltimore. We're in the top of the 5th. Game number 1 of the 79 series. Bunbury, the book on Garner, it appears, for Baltimore. He will play him in right center field. And just missed inside. And
Flanagan. Yep, you saw that. Didn't like the call, Don.
Not too happy, but I'll have to throw another one right there and see how it I get.
See the pitch again. Pretty close.
The 2-2 pitch. And he came right back with that same pitch again, and Garner just did get a piece of it. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Garner, the leadoff hitter, in the Bucks' 5th. Hit hard and hooking away from Lowenstein. It'll go to the wall. Garner on his way for 2 as Lowenstein will hit the cutoff man Belanger, and Garner leads it off in the Pittsburgh 5th with a double.
So as they started the lineup the second time around last inning, they began to get to Flanagan and scored a run. Look at that. Look where that pitch was, Don.
Got the breaking pitch up over the plate. Look at that ball hooking away from Lowenstein. He had no chance whatsoever. Then skipping through the mud and off the wall. The biggest thing you could do then was run it down. So Garner's at second base, and here's Manny Sanguillen.
And we told you about the Bucks' ability to play catch-up baseball. They did it all year long. In the late innings, they can terrify you. There's not a weak spot in their lineup.
That is to Belanger on a couple of hops as he will throw Sanguillen out. Now Garner has to remain at second base, and we go to the top of the order on Omar Moreno. He is 0 for 2 tonight. He's bounced to second, and he's lined to center.
Baltimore has a history of these angular shortstops with a kind of antelope lope. After all, Belanger came after Ron Hansen.
Center fielder, Omar Moreno.
Here is Omar Moreno, and there is Mrs. Moreno, trying to get something started with the whistle.
Come on, sweetie, you can do it.
She knows the folks heard her.
Well, he's done it all year. He's had a fine year. 282, 8 home runs, 69 RBIs, 77 stolen bases. And as we've said, he can make this club go. The third baseman, Doug DeCinces, up on the grass. He's going to take away a bunt situation from Moreno if he's going to come that way. DeCinces, after the pitch, he will take a step in and then a step back quickly to third. Belanger in a little bit of an awkward position. Now here's Dempsey. Here's what I mean where he will take over. He will come in. He will make sure that he has got everything squared away with Flanagan. He wants to make sure he knows exactly what's on your mind. DeCinces will double check with him. Belanger's got to keep Garner close at second base. Billy Smith is back at his second base position, so that means Belanger's got to move over a little bit. Tanner, he'll turn him loose at any time.
That's that pitch.
Good off-speed breaking pitch.
Beautiful.
0-2 to Moreno. Moreno's led the National League in stolen bases the last couple of years. Uh-oh. There's a nasty pitch. Left-hander to left-hander as he dropped from the side.
Rick took a quick look at Newdecker behind the plate. Found no solace there.
A ball and 2 strikes, 1 out, 1 on. 5-1 Baltimore. Good curveball. The 4th strikeout for Flanagan tonight.
And as you look at it again, it came at a big time. He pitched Moreno beautifully. First the changeup, got him on a swinging strike, and then the curveball. And here is the little contact hitter, Timmy Foley.
Well, you see, Foley 1 for 2. He's flied to left, singled and scored. The only Pirate run of the night. That was in the 4th inning. There you see Foley up on that bat handle. He's up about 4 inches. One and 0.
This is a feisty kid who's taught himself all the subtle skills of the game. How to advance the runners, how to hit inside out, how to hit and run.
He's given a lot of credit to former manager Gene Mauch. 1-1 the count.
Mauch told him early in his career, Tim, you're never going to be a star. Forget it. He said at first that discouraged him. Then he came to realize Mauch was exactly right. Mauch's had a great influence upon him.
Foul right side. 1-2 the count.
Elrod Hendricks with a face warming mask. Ellie will be remembered forever for a brief stint as a pitcher in Toronto a year ago.
See, I think he's putting on a little bit with that.
Foley fighting off that curveball, fouling it over in the Baltimore dugout. Count remains 1-2, 2 outs. Garner at second base.
Talking about Gene Mauch, Howard, I tell you, Gino's influenced a lot of young people in the game of baseball.
Sure.
He really has.
He recognized Foley was the same kind of ball player Gino was.
That's right.
And Gino was a disciple of the late Branch Rickey, and Mr. Rickey early spotted Gino as a potentially outstanding manager, which he is.
Big hop to DeCinces. Gets the handle and throws him out. Now the Pirates are gone in the 5th inning, and after 4.5, it remains Baltimore 5 and Pittsburgh 1. Now we're back here in Baltimore with the Orioles on top 5-1. Just about everybody getting into the act. There's the Oriole here in Baltimore. And we have the third Pittsburgh pitcher of the evening. It'll be Enrique Romo coming on. Romo, just prior to going to the mound, he made sure that he walked into home plate umpire Jerry Neudecker. And Neudecker was telling him, he said, now, no, you can't go with your fingers to your mouth. Romo then gestured, can I blow on my hand? He said, yes, but don't put your fingers in your mouth.
Meanwhile, Romo is a pitcher of whom pitching coach Harvey Haddix is especially fond. He throws just about everything and has a remarkable screwball that goes straight down. In the meantime, there's Doogie DeCinces, who'll be coming up this inning, who's had the 2-run homer. I spoke with him earlier. Doogie, you're finally coming out of the shadow of Brooks Robinson. You can see it happening and feel it, can't you?
Well, you know, when you make a play like the one that I did, it's important, and everybody across the nation is watching it, and then everybody starts remembering the fact that in 1970 Brooks made all those fantastic plays, and I guess it does remove that little bit of a shadow.
Well, they've got the shadow right now. Doug DeCinces at third base here in Baltimore, and he's going to be a fixture there for quite a while. It'll be Murray, Lowenstein, and DeCinces. As you look at Enrique Romo, Romo a record of 10-5 on the year. He made 84 appearances. That's one thing about Chuck Tanner. He used that bullpen. You had Romo with 84. You had Tekulve with 94, and Grant Jackson was 72. Romo, he was acquired from the Seattle Mariners with Rick Jones. They sent a fine young shortstop over there, Mario Mendoza, and also Odell Jones, a pitcher, Rafael Vasquez. That was in December of '78. And now you see what Weaver has. He gets to have Murray come up, and he'll turn around and hit the other way. Eddie 1 for 1 tonight. He walked and scored and singled.
Well, what you have to look for with Romo is that remarkable screwball that Harvey Haddix loves to talk about. He said, I've never seen one like it anywhere. I tell you, it goes straight down.
Well, he'll throw you everything but the kitchen sink every now and then. Now Murray stands in as we get ready to go to the Baltimore 5th, 5-1 Baltimore.
Because it goes straight down is another reason Neudecker told him to keep his fingers out of his mouth. Drysdale, an expert on the subject.
Off-speed breaking pitch. There's a Baltimore fan. And you know that they're happy. Baltimore, they really picked up some fan reaction here. I was talking to Brooks Robinson during the playoff series, and he said they've had great fans here in Baltimore, but he says for the last year, he said it's been something short of fantastic.
Well, it all relates to the year of siege against the Baltimore sports franchises. And then the Baltimore News American Drive, the motto on every bumper sticker you can see. The birds belong in Baltimore. That's what they call them here. Not the Orioles, as it says on the jersey, but the birds.
Romo moving him back with that breaking pitch, and that's been their slogan there. The bird will fly. And they're going to have to fly in a hurry after game 2 tomorrow night on to Pittsburgh. No off day. Rain took care of that yesterday. This may be one of the few fastballs that you'll see Romo throw.
Yeah, but he threw it almost out of the ballpark, too. They're going to let Murray get a hold of it. I looked up this morning, woke up pretty early, and looked out the window, saw that snow coming down. I got up, went out in the hall, and got the paper to make sure I was in Baltimore. I'm serious, it happened overnight.
Boy, I'll tell you, those were big flakes, too.
Oh, wow.
There it is. There's the Scrooge. Drops a little low on the count 3-1.
Who was the best screwball pitcher you ever saw?
Well, Ruben Gomez had a pretty good one.
Oh, he sure did.
How about a fella named Warren Spahn?
Oh, he had an excellent one.
He is. If that man hadn't been in World War II, he would have had 400 career victories.
He misses and Murray walks. Tried to bring that breaking pitch from the outside.